Hi guys, how is it going? Welcome back to my channel, and for all my new subscribers, I'm Natalia Suri and I do everything related to books. Author interviews, book reviews, book recommendations, everything. So yes, do check out those videos. And yeah, the most important thing, the bonus. The bonus is that you would find my sessions with witches, tantrics, voodoo practitioners, my link with meeting a witch in South Delhi. I have sharing it below. Do check it out. Did she cast her spells in me, some magic or not? But today, what am I going to do? Today, my guest is Mr. Aruni Kashyap. We are going to talk about creative writing. He's a creative writing professor in the Georgia University in US. So I'm going to ask him questions like difference between a normal person reading and an author reading. How selective should an author be in his reading? If we have not done a creative writing course, can we still write that novel? If we don't know what's point of view, if we don't know what's a voice, then can we write that novel is a very big question which I'm going to ask him. And above all, how should a writer discover his voice? And many more questions. So come, let us talk to him and know the secret of writing that bestseller out there. Come. Hi Aruni, thank you so much for joining, and it's really a pleasure that I've been given this opportunity to talk to you.
It's my pleasure as well. I have been watching your videos and they are very interesting, and I'm so happy to have this opportunity to talk to you.
I see. My questions are based around you are a creative writing professor in USA. So for all the aspiring writers who want to become authors, this whole idea of creative writing is very important. Now, what is the difference? What would you say is the difference between normal reading and a writer who reads?
That's a great question. Actually, when a regular person is reading, they are completely immersed in the short story. They are very interested in they completely immersed in the story, in the narrative. They are very interested and invested in the character, in the story, in what is going to happen next. But a creative writer, naturally, because a lot of creative writers, most creative writing is natural, so when a creative writer reads naturally from a very young age, otherwise they might also get some training later. Either way, when a creative writer reads, they also look at how the story is constructed. They look at how the story is progressing. What are the different techniques that the writer is using to make the characters believable? Right? So in other words, you read from the practitioner's point of view, not as a reader, because the reader is only interested in the story, in the enjoyment of the story, in knowing the characters well. But a creative writer, when they are reading, they're looking for craft, they're looking for dialogues, they're looking for, is the dialogue realistic, are the characters believable, what are the authors doing, or what is this novel's author is doing in order to make the characters believable? How is suspense used? So these are the things that when we teach writing, ask the students to also look for, because unless you start reading as a practitioner of the craft, you will not know how to write book. But as I said, I was trained to teach creative writing in my late 20s. But from a very young age, I was a very avid reader. And I also always noticed that, when I was reading, I used to always pay attention to how the story is progressing. So as a result, probably, most creative writers kind of, practice that unknowingly from a very young age when they are reading.
How selective should a writer be of his reading? Should he read everything or the genre which he wants to write? What do you suggest?
Well, of course, in the genre that you want to write, if you read more, that really helps. but I think that a writer should be completely omnivorous in their reading habits. I grew up reading thrillers, I grew up reading romance, I grew up reading erotica, literary fiction, political fiction, non-fiction, short stories, everything that was available in my home. And I also grew up reading in English, Hindi, Bengali, and Assamese. So these four languages I knew, and I grew up reading them. I used to read a lot of Surendra Mohan Pathak Hindi thrillers. I don't even remember a lot of the titles, but I think one of them I remember. It was something about a murderous Kachputli, or maybe the book was called Hatyari Kachputli. I remember that, but they were very gripping and very addictive. I used to read them all. I used to read a lot of English thrillers, English romance novels. I used to read a lot of Assamese pulp fiction. But at the same time, I read Deccans. I read, Indira Goswami. I read Ashapurna Devi, Shinil Ganguly. I read contemporary British writers, and so on. It was not a problem. I also read a lot in translations that are published by the National Book Trust. So, translations from Japan, translations from Kerala, translations from Rajasthan. Any book. I also remember reading the memoirs of Pablo Neruda in Assamese translation, who is a Chilean writer. So this is the kind of an atmosphere I grew up reading, and that's of course because my parents stocked a lot of books, and I have learned and benefited from almost all the books that I have ever read. So that has really helped me grow as a writer. And I think that every writer should indiscriminately read. But after a point of time, you started knowing, oh, this is really my taste. And it's okay if you want to read only according to your taste. But I think if you want to become a writer, you must know you must learn from all the masters of crime fiction, masters of psychological thrillers, masters of romance. Anyone who is a good storyteller, that person is your teacher. You must remember that.
See, I have another question. These days life is very complicated. A person, apart from being a writer, is perhaps doing a bank job or, doing taking care of his family. He has got multiple tasks to take care of. So, how much reading can a aspiring author should do, in your opinion, like a targeted 30-page read or a 40-page read? What is there any formula like this? Because, when I did a creative writing course, my professor said at least target 30 pages a day. So, what would you suggest?
Well, that is not a bad thing, See, creative writing courses are just to help new aspiring writers. But a reader will always read passionately. So, for example, when I was young, I used to refuse to go to movies and read because I liked reading. So people used to tease me. Even now, if my idea of a holiday is to stay at home and read a novel. My idea of a holiday is to go to the beach and read a novel. My idea of a relaxing day is go to a coffee shop and read a novel. If I had the chance, I would read a book, a short story collection, a poetry collection, and not watch Netflix. So you have to truly love it. So you can't really set a targeted amount of time in order to read. You have to read because you love to do it. Some people watch movies because they love watching movies, and they watch movies all the time. In the same way, a good writer and a good reader reads all the time because they love reading. And the same way, a good writer will always enjoy the process of writing a lot. So that is something that is very, very important. There is no formula. And usually, writers are those people who are actually also very, very passionate readers. If they are not passionate readers, they will probably face a lot of difficulty in their writing life because from reading you learn, and the more you learn, you grow.
You are teaching creative writing in America, and you did your course there. How would you say it has changed over the years, and how much importance is given to Asian writers in that American syllabus?
I think the things that I practiced of reading carefully, of reading as a practitioner of the craft, of reading and paying attention to dialogue, characterization, suspense, storytelling. These things that I did as an adolescent boy in Assam, these things that I did as a new adult in Delhi University when I was studying English literature, all of these practices, I learned that all these ways of reading were valid and valuable when I did a creative writing course. So in some ways, a creative writing course actually vindicated a lot of my practices, a lot of the way I have lived as a reader. So my earlier reading life, that was already doing a lot of things that a creative writing course teaches us to do actually. So I would say that I felt vindicated when I did a creative writing course. I also learned from my mentors, my colleagues, my friends, that writing is an art, and you have to practice it every day, and you get better at it the more you practice. It is not something that you do by taking out time. It's not something like by you do like do by deliberately taking out time. No, let me rephrase this. It's not something that you do after you do everything. Sorry, it's the pandemic. My head is not working, as you can see. So you have to take out time every day to do it. And so you after a point of time, people really know that morning is my best time, and evening is my best time, and they actually sit down 2-3 hours every day to write it. It's work, just the way you would go to work every day. Coming back, what was the second question? I forgot. I'm so sorry.
No problem. My question was, for teaching creative writing in the US, you did your courses there. How would you say that over these years creative writing has progressed or changed in the US? And second, how much importance are Asian writers given in that American syllabus, so the whole concept of racism is there?
When I moved to the US to study creative writing in 2011, the creative writing field was predominantly white, and mostly white writers were taught. I think the only Indian writer, the only Asian writer, only writer of color actually who was taught in my class my first year was a writer called Chitra Banerjee Debakaruni, who is an Indian English writer. One of her short stories were taught actually. So I felt nice that an Indian writer was taught, but I also felt that there's a very wide range of eclectic, rich literature from the global south that needs to be taught, that we can learn from as writers, and that did not have space in the creative writing courses of the United States. But over the last 10 years, a lot has changed. The conversation has changed, and there is change happening for the better. People want to create syllabi that is diverse in nature, that has a wide range of writers, not just in terms of racial diversity, but also in terms of styles, backgrounds, ethnicities, sexualities, politics, etc. So people try to create eclectic syllabi in the most radical sense. So that has the changes happened. There are many departments here that actually have Asian Studies department or Asian American Studies department, or Asian American Literature is part of English department or part of multicultural literature course. So I would say that writers from Asia are widely taught. In fact, writers from South Asia are also widely taught in Area Studies department, South Asian Studies departments. But of course, there can be more. It is not enough. People are doing it, but I think there should be more dedicated centers and departments and courses where writers from the global south can be taught.
If someone does not know the technical aspects of point of view, voice, can that person still write a novel? When you go do a course, the teacher will teach you see it from this point of view, you see this voice. But a person, like a normal person, does not know what is a point of view. But everybody wants to aspire to be an author. So you feel that person can write a novel?
Creative writing courses are only like 50 or 100 years old. But before that, novels were written, right? And very good novels were written. Also, the idea of creative writing course in India is very new, and it's still very limited to actually people who read and write in English. So it is primarily a metropolitan readership or a small town upper class readership that actually know about creative writing courses. But in the vernacular, people have been writing crafty novels for a very long time. And how do they do that? By reading other writers. And I have to say this here, coming here and say that before I went to a creative writing course, I already wrote a novel and I had a contract with Penguin. So my first novel was published actually when I was doing a creative writing course. So I think a creative writing course is a good qualification, and in some ways, some time that you can take out from your regular life, and just focus on your craft of your work, focus on your writing, because a creative writing course, if it is funded, if it gives you scholarship, it's a good thing that you should do. You go away for 2 years, go away for 3 years, and just write and focus on your work, focus on your creative writing, and do dedicated work, targeted dedicated work. But otherwise, people are writing. It's a very, very small fraction of people who actually attend creative writing courses. It's a very even smaller section of people who actually know about creative writing courses. I think people go to do creative writing courses because they want to grow, because they want feedback. But such feedback loops, such communities, writers groups have always existed in India's vernacular traditions for a very long time. Mentorship has existed, and those are actually unstructured creative writing courses, because when a junior writer takes their story to a senior writer, and a senior writer gives them feedback, they take it to another senior writer and get more feedback. That's the creative writing community. That's a workshop, right? What happens in a creative writing course is that it actually is making it much more formal. It provides structure. It provides the support of an institution. But otherwise, people have been always writing without actually reading textbooks of creative writing. You don't need to be in a creative writing course to be a creative writer. All the India's greatest writers, Mahashta Devi, Ashapurna Devi, Indira Goswami, Vaikam Muhammad Bashir, everyone, Mahadevi Burma, Nirmal Burma in Hindi, Krishna Sopti, all of them, they never did a creative writing course. We learned from them. We teach their work because they read widely across languages, across cultures, and they learn from the best. So the best thing is that you have to read extremely widely.
Sir, sorry, Aruni, I'm so used to saying sir. How do you advise an author to discover his voice?
By writing every day. By writing every day and by reading very, very widely. I don't know which writer said that, but a good novel is a product of reading 1,000 good novels. So it's like distilled water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you analyze text, and how do you conclude that this is good writing and this isn't good writing?
What is your favorite food?
My favorite food?
Yeah.
I like Chinese.
You like Chinese? You have eaten Chinese in a wide range of restaurants.
Yeah.
And you know that the shop near your house is the best Chinese. Because the cook is good there, right?
Yeah.
That's the way you read a very wide range of books. Then you will see there are many books that are bad. There are many books that are good, but a couple of them are excellent. That's how you know. You read widely and you know which is good, which is bad, and then you read the excellent ones once again. You have to read. There is no other way. Absolutely. People say, "Oh, we don't have time to read. How can I become a writer?" and etc. Then, if anybody who is complaining that is in the wrong profession. It needs time to read. There is no other way.
And how do you translate? You have translated a lot of work, keeping the essence the same. The translation is more difficult than writing. What is your opinion on that?
That's a good question. I translate because when I read something which is not available in English, and I feel this is so good and it should be available in English or available in Hindi, I don't know how to translate to Hindi, but I know how to translate only to English. So what I do is then I sit down and translate it. But I do that primarily because I love the work so much. That is why, my goal is to take the work to the next level. You will lose a lot as you are translating. You will lose the essence of the original text you are translating. There is always something lost in translation. But at the same time, there is always something to gain in translation. Because when it becomes an English text, it becomes a new text. It also benefits from the conventions of the English language. It benefits from many other things. So I think that we should be okay with losing something as long as the heart of the original text is not lost.
My last question is, what are the 3 books which you would advise an aspiring writer must read before he starts his novel to get a fair picture? Yeah.
I will tell you what are my favorite novels. those novels that have left a deep impact on me. And I go back to these novels whenever I have writer's block. And I think this answer is going to be different for every writer. So I would say The Moth-Eaten Howdah of a Tusker by Indira Goswami, one of my most favorite novels. Pages Stained with Blood by Indira Goswami. It is a novel set in Delhi. So beautiful descriptions of Delhi is there, but at the same time, it is set against the 1984 riots against the Sikh. Then I would say The Shadow Lines by Amitabh Ghosh is another book that I absolutely love. The First Promise by Bengali writer Ashapurna Devi. The Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And My Son's Story by Nadine Gordimer. These are my favorite books. They are always on my desk. I always go back to them whenever I'm stuck.
Absolutely. But any book on craft of writing?
I don't believe in books that are on crafts of writing. I think the best books on crafts of writing are great novels. Novels that are loved across cultures and time. If you read them, we will learn. I think reading Song of Solomon was a life-changing experience for me, because it taught me so much about characterization, about voice, about style, about politics, about what is beautiful. I think reading a good novel always teaches you that, and no textbook, no crafts book can actually teach you that. In fact, I feel that most creative writing textbooks are probably a kind of scam.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Aruni, for your session today. I'm sure that all aspiring writers would have found a lot of answers to their questions.
Thank you. I really loved talking to you, and those are great questions that you asked.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So guys, I was in conversation with Mr. Aruni Kashyap. You have the questions. My email address is given below. Do share your views, comments. You like it or you don't like it, do share that. And yes, do check out my blog, www.nataliasuri.com. My recent article is Wild Animals with whom I live in my house. You can never guess those animals with whom I live. So do check out that blog and my funny reads. And yeah, don't forget to tune in my next show, which I'll be posting in very soon. Till then, you know what you need to do. Press that subscribe button. Keep smiling. Why? Because you look beautiful when you smile. Take care of yourself. Bye. See you soon.